Today is Sonic's 30th anniversary, and that is a long time to be around. Sonic has been a very large part of my childhood, be it the games or the cartoons. I was, and still really am, into the Sonic franchise. Now that the newest Sonic cartoon was announced for next year, I thought it'd be a good idea to rank the different Sonic cartoons and movies over the years, from worst to best. Before I begin, I like to give out the rules for this list. 1. I will not be ranking any of the games. I have not played all of them, so I cannot rank them with a clear conscience. Everything on this list is a cartoon or a movie that Sonic has appeared in. This means that I will not be ranking the Sonic comics. Like the games, I have not read all of them, so I cannot rank them with a clear conscience. Number 2, I will not be talking about anything that Sonic has cameoed in, be it a McDonald's commercial, real-time fandoms, or in another show or movie. Each item on this list is a Sonic property and a Sonic property alone. Number 3, this is opinion-based, so if you have a different opinion, please be respectful for not only myself, but for others who may disagree with you. Everyone is free to think what they want to think. Number 4, everything is based on my memory of the cartoons and the movies in a few episodes of rewatch, so if I get something wrong or if I forget anything, please let me know. Number 5, I tried to include everything I could think of, but I am not perfect. So if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. With the rules out of the way, let's get into my ranking of every Sonic cartoon and movie. There's only one item in this tier, and that is the original trailer for the Sonic movie. I know, I just listed all the rules and I'm already breaking them. But here's the thing, this is so bad that I had to include it. Never in my life have I seen something this bad come from the Sonic franchise. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric included. Sonic looks terrible! If he wasn't blue, I doubt I would have recognized him as Sonic. I have no idea what the people making this movie were thinking. There isn't anything else I could possibly say about this monstrosity that hasn't already been said before. Just note that this is what I personally believe to be Sonic's worst appearance ever. The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is probably the worst Sonic cartoon there is, and I'm not saying that I hate it, because I don't. This show holds a special place in my heart, and it kills me to have it this low on the list, as there are still things I enjoy about the show, including Sonic and Tails' relationship. Sonic and Tails have always had this brotherly relationship, and this is one of the only pieces of Sonic media that acknowledges that fact. The only other one that does this is SatAM, if memory serves me right. Anything else I've seen just has Sonic called Tails his little buddy and leaves it at that. Maybe it's because I grew up with the original Sonic cartoons, but I've always viewed the relationship as familial, so actually seeing that brotherly dynamic always brings a smile to my face. I also quite enjoy Scratch Grounder and Coconuts. They are definitely some of my favorite Eggman henchmen. Like, the way they play off each other is brilliant, they all have great dynamics. With all the good stuff out of the way, let's get on to why this is so far down the list. The vibes. If there wasn't Eggman, Sonic, and Tails, I never would have known that this was a Sonic cartoon. There isn't really anything connecting this show to the franchise, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but I don't think that this show pulled it off that well. It's kind of hard to put into words, but the vibes I get from watching Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog are different from when I watch any other Sonic cartoon. The show is just too out there for me, it's just too abstract, I don't know. Also, if I can get petty for a second, Sonic doesn't even have aquaphobia, which is something that follows him in most other Sonic media. Why get rid of one of his main weaknesses? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're going to get rid of it, you need something else to be his kryptonite. And he doesn't have that in this. I get that it's a kid's show, but come on. He can still have a weakness besides his cockiness. Maybe because I grew up with Sonic's fear of water, such as inability to swim, but I just can't get behind leaving it out. Another thing I can't get behind is the one-off characters. They're all so bland and forgettable. I cannot for the life of me find it in my heart to care about their problems. I get that they are one-off characters, but they can still be entertaining. Make them stand out from other characters. The only one of the characters I can remember is that mermaid in the Sloth family. But that doesn't mean that they were interesting or anything. They all would have been forgettable if their episodes didn't piss me off. Speaking of that Sloth family, let's talk about the Sonic Says segments of the episodes. The Sonic Says segments have always really felt forced to me, and I never really enjoyed them to begin with. There are a few exceptions, like the one that teaches kids about sexual harassment and the one teaching kids not to smoke. Great lessons for kids to learn, I just think the writers could have done it better. Kids aren't stupid, the average child can get the message without being hit across the head with it. Furthermore, the tonal shift between the episode and the Sonic Says segment is just weird and doesn't resonate with me. For example, at the end of the episode Slow Going, the message was that you can learn something from a sloth to get out of quicksand. Okay? That quicksand bit is just so random. The average child will never, ever run into quicksand. Why was this a lesson they needed to learn? I think they were trying to do the, even though someone is different from you, you could still learn something from them, but it could have been done so much better. Again, I don't hate Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's just not my favorite Sonic cartoon. Maybe I'm just too old for this show now, which is a shame because I remember really loving it as a kid. In the low D tier, we have the Sonic movie, or well, the Sonic OVA that was released in America as a movie instead of a 2-episode series like it was in Japan, but whatever. Anyways, the Sonic OVA is okay, it's weird. The owl was pretty funny and Tails getting upset about him wearing Sonic's favorite clothes cracks me up. The music and the animation go together, and it has a nice aesthetic to it that I can get behind. Plus Sonic and Co. all feel pretty in character, which is always nice to see. Though the OVA runs into the same problem that Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog did, in which there's not much connecting it to the main series, I think that the OVA does it much better though. I don't know, it just feels more like a Sonic game, which the OVA pulls off very well. The reason this is so far down the list is because even though there are some things I do enjoy about it, it's just really forgettable to me. I've seen this movie 3 to 4 times now, either including or excluding the reanimation project that was done on YouTube, and I still have trouble remembering what happened in it. I'm not sure if it's my own fault or if the OVA is just that bland. I guess it doesn't matter either way, I still would put it in the same place that it already is. Also, I hate Sarah. No, I'm not going to explain why. Moving on to the high D tier, we have seasons 2 and 3 of Sonic X. Sonic X has always been iffy to me. There are still plenty of things that I like about the show in general, but these 2 seasons are a dark stain on the series as a whole. Why, you ask? Well, for starters, Season 2 is just a retelling of the 2 Sonic Adventure games, plus some Sonic battle according to the Wikipedia, which for some isn't really a problem, but for me it's aggravating. Seasons 1 and 3 both have original stories, so it's jarring to all of a sudden get thrusted with storylines from the games. What's worse is that these storylines happen back to back. If the 2 Sonic Adventure games were spaced apart better, I might not be so upset. But the Sonic Adventure 2 plot begins the episode after the Sonic Adventure 1 plot finished, and because there's no time in between the next big adventure, there was no time for the viewer to relax and take the previous events in. That's what filler episodes are for! While some shows, like Avatar: The Last Airbender for example, have little to no filler episodes, they still have episodes that are pretty tame compared to others. Less action-packed and more focused on character development and storytelling than big battles and major story arcs. This is why I strongly dislike Season 2. There is no break between major story arcs, and those major story arcs are directly cut from the games. There's nothing unique about them. Then there's Season 3, which is the most boring and forgettable season out of all of them. Season 3 starts with Chris, who is now an adult who goes to Sonic's world and is now a child again, and then Sonic and Co. go out into space to stop the war between plant and robot people. It's the weirdest shit that has ever happened. I cannot even remember what else happens this season besides Dark Supersonic, which is the coolest concept ever, but was never mentioned or used again. Also Cosmo, whom I love, absolute angel sent from heaven. And then they killed her off. Fuck Sonic X Season 3, all my homies hate Sonic X Season 3. They could have done anything else this season. And with the inclusion of the game plot lines in Season 2, they had even more material to work with. Yet they chose the most cliché plot they could have thought of. Also, Chris, despite being mentally an adult, still acts like a fucking child. I hated him so much. I seriously do not understand why this decision was made. If they wanted Chris to be a child, then have him still be a child. Don't make him an adult in the body of a child but still acts like a child. That's fucking stupid! Now, there are things I did like about these 2 seasons, Cosmo and the Seadrin lore and the Dark Supersonic, but that's about it. These 2 seasons are disappointing, which is a shame because this show was doing so well too. But then they have fucking bomb it. Jumping from seasons 2 and 3 of Sonic X to the first, Sonic X Season 1 sits at a low C tier. There was so much potential in this show despite the cliché concept. Sonic appearing in our world, not a unique concept. But if done right, it could still be entertaining. Sonic X almost pulls it off. I think my major problem with the show is some of the human characters. Chris Thorndike, for example. He's not that interesting of a character. We're told at first that he's a rich kid with no friends, so his first friend is Sonic, or so the viewer assumes. But then a few episodes later, we see that Chris has several friends at school. Okay? He keeps going on and on about how lonely he is, but he's really not? I mean, sure, his parents aren't there, but that's different than having no friends. What's worse is that his friends are better characters than he is. I fully believe that Helen should have been the main character. I resonated with her more in her introductory episode than I did with Chris the entire series. Despite being in a wheelchair, she strives for adventure, so Sonic takes her out on one. It was the sweetest episode and I love her to bits and pieces. I cannot believe that the writers could make a fantastic character, but had Chris be the main one. They both had similar problems too, that their parents loved them, but weren't really there for them like they wanted them to be. It was a missed opportunity to have her be part of the main cast. She would have created so many cool story plots. And if anyone has a fanfic about this, please send it my way, I need it for a friend. Also, can we talk about Amy? I don't know what Sega was doing back then, but Sonic X and the other Sonic games, Amy was not that likable of a character. She's annoying and sometimes gets on borderline creepy. I know that there are people who like her character, but I just don't. I think the show is the reason why I don't like Amy. She's just too fucking obsessed, and that makes her so unlikable to watch. I don't know how others could stand her. Her character seems to be being fixed in the current games, but the damage was already done for me. Something I did like about Sonic X was that it didn't jump right into Sonic being well known and loved by practically everyone. It took 2 seasons for that to happen, and in the first season he's not all that well known as a hero until about the middle of the season. So the first half is spent with Sonic and Co adjusting to our world, which is nice to see as it gives the writers time to establish the world that they're telling the story from. By setting up the world, it makes the viewer care more about the world and its people, so they root for Sonic and friends to save it. I didn't mention this for seasons 2 and 3, but the animation was great in my opinion. I don't know if it's because it was made in Japan or what, but the stylization is fantastic. It's aesthetically pleasing, and it's very true to the style of the games. The only thing I didn't like is that Rouge and Shadow in later seasons had an orangish-yellow skin tone. I think that the creators were trying to make them tan, but it just looks so weird. I don't like how they look, and they just look so off to me. Altogether, Season 1 of Sonic X is a solid concept, and a good start to the rest of the series. If only the rest of the series could have lived up. Sonic Boom sits in a nice high C tier, and for a good reason too. I had my doubts about this show when it first came out. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric fucking sucked, so it was strange to see a cartoon come out of it, and the first half of Season 1 wasn't really my cup of tea. Sticks was weird, Knuckles wasn't the Knuckles I grew up with, and Eggman wasn't really a threat, nor did he ever feel threatening. I didn't pick the show back up until I saw people on YouTube and on Tumblr praising the show. So I picked it back up, and let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. While yes, Knuckles is dumber in this show, he still has a lot of charm. Sometimes he'll say the dumbest thing, and I couldn't help but laugh. And Styx' weirdness is a part of her charm. Eggman's silliness fits into the vibe of the show, and I'm actually glad that he's not too serious. It'd clash with the rest of the show. I think my favorite part is Sonic not being the hero of the town. Sure, he saves the village all the time, but they all have such a strong dislike for him, which is a weird change of pace, but a welcomed one. I'm so used to seeing Sonic being the favorite wherever he goes, that it's nice to see people outside the villains actively disliking the blue blur. It gives a sense of perspective that I didn't know I wanted in a Sonic cartoon. The writing in Sonic Boom is genius. The jokes are hilarious, and there are times where they're even self-aware of their own selves while not feeling out of place. I'm not sure how they did it. The running joke of the males not wearing pants, for example. I believe it was one of the best done in the scene.
E3. The cold is unbearable. For the first time in my life, I actually considered wearing pants. Desperate times indeed.
You can see the contempt in his face as he pauses, considering whether or not to put on pants or freeze to death. That mixed with the internal dialogue makes it comedy gold. I don't know when or how they did it, but the writers somehow developed humor for my generation, and I am living for it. My favorite character hands down has to be Knuckles, which is weird because I really don't like this version of the character. Maybe it's because he reminds me of Launchpad McQuack from DuckTales, or maybe it's because he's a giant himbo. I don't really know. But what I do know is that his line deliveries are fucking genius. I cannot think of a moment in this show that I didn't find one of Knuckles' lines at least a little funny.
Ooh, let me see! Oh wait, I can't read.
You see this? It's hilarious. He's stupid in a charming way, and even though this isn't my favorite characterization of him, I absolutely love how well he fits into the world that the show has created. There are things I don't enjoy about Sonic Boom, however, or about Cubot, for example. Maybe this is just me being petty again, but I think that they've been overdone. Don't get me wrong, Orbot and Cubot are fine, but but I just want something different, if that makes sense. Orbot and Cubot have been Eggman's henchmen since Sonic Colors, which was released in 2010. It's been almost 11 years since they first appeared. They've appeared in Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, Sonic Forces, Team Sonic Racing, Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games, Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020, Sonic Runners, Archie's Sonic Comics, IDW Sonic Comics, and Orbot's model appeared in Sonic Unleashed with a recolor. So imagine my disappointment when they appeared in the Sonic Boom universe unchanged from the main franchise. While everyone else got a revamp, Orbot and Cubot did not. They stayed the exact same. It's disappointing, and honestly, I just want something new. Again, I don't hate them. They've just been overdone in my opinion. Overall, Sonic Boom isn't perfect, but its charm and its jokes won me over. It's hilarious, and that's good enough for me. Alright, I know that this is an unpopular opinion for many, but Sonic Underground sits in B tier for me. Maybe I'm biased, this is the show that got me into the Sonic franchise in the first place. Rewatching episodes is like taking a breath of fresh air. While the background character designs are less than ideal, they don't really take away from my viewing experience. The main characters are great. Sonia and Manic don't feel like Sonic clones. They are their own independent characters, and I love that. Sonia isn't just a girl, and Manic isn't just other Sonic. They are fleshed out characters, and I'm really glad that they were written that way. The triplets dynamic feels realistic to me, especially when they have petty fights. It reminds me of my own siblings and how we treat each other, name-calling and all. And I love that each of them gets time to shine, not just Sonic. It makes them all feel as important as the other, and it makes the viewer care more about the characters when they are given a reason to. Sonia and Manic are underappreciated characters, and I will die on this hill. Moving on from the heroes to the villains, this version of Robotnik is kind of an in-between for SatAM and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. He's not too silly, but he's not too serious, and I know some people like myself find that refreshing. And some of the things he does make sense. He controls Robotropolis through fear, and through that fear, he can make money, so he charges taxes and failure to pay roboticization. It makes sense that the rich get to sit around while the poor suffer. That's just how life is. Plus, this gives Robotnik more character, as he's a greedy bastard who wants to rule with an iron fist. It's great to see. Also, I may be biased, but Sleet and Dingo are probably my favorite Eggman henchmen. The two play off each other so well, and what makes them better is that they aren't actually loyal to Robotnik. They are only working with him out of fear, and in the first episode it's established that they are bounty hunters who are only in it for the pay, before Robotnik, in his selfish and greedy ways, threatened to turn them into robot slaves if they didn't do what he ordered. There are several instances in the show where Sleet and Dingo break off of Robotnik's orders if they thought that they could get away from him. It just makes them seem more realistic to me. Plus, Dingo can turn into anything with Sleet's remote, which gives them an advantage in several cases. The only thing that I really didn't like about the two was Dingo's crush on Sonia. That was just plain creepy. I think a major reason most people don't like Sonic Underground is the songs, and a part of me doesn't blame them. The songs on the show can be hit or miss, and they aren't subtle about their messages, but when a song hits, it hits hard. The theme song, Someday, Wish I Could Go Faster, they are all straight up bangers. The songs that don't, however, just aren't that great. Most aren't terrible, but they're just often forgettable and less than par. A common argument that I have seen against the songs is that each song has a different style of music, which people don't really like, I suppose. But here's a counter-argument. What about Phineas and Ferb? Each episode had at least one song like Sonic Underground, and each song was a different style of music. The only differences between the two is that Sonic Underground had strong messages in each song and were animated to look like a music video. Why does this work for one show but not the other? Because one show's songs were better overall? Just say that you didn't like the songs from Sonic Underground and move on. Another thing I'd like to mention is Knuckles, whom I love in this show. His character is very close to how he's portrayed in other Sonic media. Not dumb, but naive. His introductory episode was much like how he was introduced in the Sonic games, with some slight differences, which the show pulls off much better than Season 2 of Sonic X in my opinion. Plus, he isn't just a one-off character. He shows back up later for a three-parter, and he's great there too. Though I don't know why both Sonic Underground and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog changed the Chaos Emerald's lore. Did they just not want Sonic to be too overpowered or what? It's strange to have Knuckles not protect the Master Emerald, but instead a Chaos Emerald that doesn't even look like a Chaos Emerald. I don't know if I'm just nitpicking or what, but it's just weird to me. Overall, Sonic Underground is a breath of fresh air of nostalgia, and it's a great show if people give it more of a chance. It's not too silly or too serious, and it has a great cast of characters, which makes it one of my favorite Sonic cartoons of all time. In A tier, we have the Sonic movie. I know we all had doubts about the Sonic movie when the first trailer dropped. How can this movie be good if they allowed Sonic to look like that? But they fixed the design, and that made my viewing experience much better. The movie is fantastic. The characters were great and all well written. Sonic felt like Sonic, and Jim Carrey's take on Eggman is hilarious. The story, while having some action scenes, has some really down-to-earth moments. There were several times throughout the movie that I got reminded of the fact that this version of Sonic is a child who's been alone for 10 years. Some of Sonic's dialogue and actions on rewatches start to hit hard when you remember that fact. It gives him more of an in-depth character, and it makes the viewer sympathize with him, which is great writing. Plus, the human characters don't take away from the story. They show up for the right amount of time, and because of this, the movie really made me care about Tom and Maddie. Tom and Maddie feel like real people who really love each other very much. There is no lover's quarrel, there is no relationship problems. There's just two people in love who do anything for the other because of that love. I'm just amazed that the movie was able to pull that off. Tom and Sonic's dynamic is great as well. The two play off each other so well. The fun guy joke that Tom made comes to mind.
Well, look at it this way. At least you won't be the only fun guy.
No, don't ever do that again.
There were several moments in the movie that really got at my heartstrings, especially the scene when Tom tucked Sonic in. It was so sweet. Over the course of a few days, they really became friends, with Tom actively worrying about Sonic's health and standing up for him at the drop of a hat. The way the two interact really gives me father-son vibes, and I'm here for that. Give me more of this found family, I will eat it all up. Sonic himself is great. He feels more Sonic than the character has in a long time. He cares about his friends, he's ambitious, he's a little cocky, but that's just what makes Sonic, Sonic. I've stated it before, but the writers really made him feel like a child. Sure, he's a teenager, but he's still young, which is something that I have seen Sega forget most of the time. I love the direction that his character was written, as it makes him seem more human to the viewer. You can sympathize with him more than you could before. Sonic's character arc throughout the movie is great, and I'm glad that it was done so well. Throughout the whole movie, Sonic still goes by what Longclaw told him, stay hidden and never stop running. And by the end of the movie, Sonic decides that he's done running, figuratively, of course, and that he's going to stay right where he is, because that's where he belongs. Because Sonic feels more human to the viewer, we care more about his goals and his ambitions, which makes the movie that much more enjoyable. Another thing, the way that Robotnik is written, and the way that Jim Carrey plays him, just makes for a fantastic character. The way that he carries himself and the way that he acts just radiates bad guy who's smarter than you vibes. And those are some good vibes. Jim Carrey makes a believable and entertaining villain. All of his jokes hit in my opinion, and most of them get me to laugh out loud. I really can't explain it, but he's just a refreshing character, especially when I have seen some bad versions of the character. Though a common argument I have seen is that he feels more like Jim Carrey than Robotnik, and I can see where they come from. Though I believe this is a good thing. Jim Carrey is hilarious and just brings so much to the table. The movie wouldn't be the same without him. Though the ending was a little cliche, my friends give you my power and all that, but I didn't really mind. Sonic's powers in the movie come from his emotions, negative or positive, so it makes sense that his friends make him stronger in this universe, so I didn't really mind the ending. Though I can see why some people wouldn't. Though the way the writers set up the ending for the sequel was fantastic, with both Eggman and Tails making a comeback. The way this was done was brilliant, and could not have been done any better in my opinion. The movie is a breath of fresh air, and it was a great step in the right direction for video game movies. The characters were great, the story was great, and it was well written, and it's everything I wanted to see in a Sonic movie and more, and I can't wait to see more from this universe. Last but not least, Sonic SatAM sits at an S tier. What can I say about SatAM that hasn't been said before? This show is fantastic, entertaining, and gives a great message about saving the environment that's subtle and isn't slapping you in the face with it. The characters are all well written and enjoyable to watch. The writing is great, and the show brings me so much nostalgia that it brings a smile to my face. While this version of Tails is younger than Game Tails, he's not an annoying child a lot of the time. Sure, he has his moments, but overall he's still an entertaining character, and his dynamic with Sonic is great in my opinion. This is the only other Sonic cartoon to acknowledge Sonic and Tails' brotherly bond, and it does a fantastic job of showing it. There are several times where it showed Sonic's softer side, which we don't get to see often. Sonic himself is very similar to how he was portrayed in Sonic Underground and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. He's cocky, arrogant, and full of himself, but he would do anything for the people he cares about. SatAM acknowledges that Sonic has flaws, and it isn't afraid to show it, which is always nice to see. A great example of this is the episode Super Sonic, where a wizard takes Sonic's speed, where he would only return it after Sonic brings back his magic computer. Sonic throughout the episode is arrogant, thinks that speed can solve all his problems, so when he loses it, he has to use his other skills to save the day. It clearly shows Sonic's flaws, and shows that he's capable of something other than being fast, which I haven't seen in a while. The episodes themselves may be episodic, but there's an overarching story plot sprinkled in, much like how Sonic Underground was. This gave the viewer wiggle room when they missed a week of the show when it was first airing on TV. It also gave breaks from the main story to get more in-depth on the other characters, which is also great, though when the main plot points happened, they were still great, such as Sonic Conversation or Blast to the Past, where the viewer gets more lore of the world that this version of Sonic lives in. These episodes are great because they both provide in-depth views of Sonic's character and provide more of the overarching story. The story itself is simple, but still amazing. Keeping the story simple makes it so the viewer can follow along easier, especially because the target audience is young children. It also makes it so the writers can have more fun coming up with ideas, because they have more wiggle room to work with. The writing itself is fun and entertaining, and I can't remember an episode that I didn't like. The characters were well written, especially Robotnik. And this version of Robotnik is the most threatening Robotnik out of all of them. He's more of a no-nonsense type. The way he's animated and Jim Cummings' voice work makes for an intimidating villain. I have seen the argument that he's too dark for some people's tastes, and I can see why. To some, being too serious can take away from their experience, and there are some times that I do prefer Sonic Underground's version of the character. It depends on the mood, I suppose. Funny enough, for a show that was more well-received than the other original Sonic cartoons, it only received 2 seasons with 26 episodes in total, while the other shows got way more. Plus, SatAM was cancelled after its 2nd season, which is unfortunate because it ended on the biggest cliffhanger of my childhood. Though the Archie comics based their story off of the SatAM universe, it's still not really the same. This show was a huge part of my childhood, and even though the animation is dated, the story all but makes up for it. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's probably the best Sonic cartoon that exists at this time. And that concludes my rating of every Sonic cartoon and movie. Each provides a different take on the character, and each gives its own style of storytelling, and each provides a unique experience. I don't know the future of Sonic cartoons or of Sonic in general, but I hope to see something great in the near future. Sonic Prime not only has some competition, but it has much to live up to, and we can only hope that it can live up to the expectations. But what do you guys think? Do you agree or disagree with my ratings? Let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider sticking around and subscribing. Thanks for watching.